Hello there, welcome to the final episode of the 2025 season of the OXFAM Tax Dialogue here on 97.3 CTFM and Channel 1 TV. I am Ni Latte, and thank you so much for joining us for this particular episode. Today on the show, we are looking at property taxation, and if you have been following the tax conversation here in the country as well as the OXFAM Tax Dialogue, you will know that property taxation is one of the pivotal tax systems that we have here in the country. A lot of times we talk about its full potential to the revenue generation of the country. However, this potential, many say, has been untapped. Today on the show, we will try to dissect the situation and try as much as possible to find recommendations for the government. I am Nila Telate. Thank you for joining us again. Stay with us. When we come back, we will begin the conversation for you.
This March, we invite you to splash in the pool of cultural expressivity and soak yourself in the celebration of indigenous authenticity in our Heritage Month. Join us for the Heritage Month launch on Friday, February 28th as we kick off a month of unforgettable experiences. Pack your bags for the Heritage Caravan, a week-long adventure across Ghana from March the 2nd to the 9th. Discover the beauty and history of our land. Savor the flavors at the Back to Your Village Food Festival, a culinary extravaganza on March 29th and 30th. Taste the essence of Ghana. Tune in to the Heritage On Air series on 97.3 CTFM and Channel 1 TV. Feel the rhythm of our music, journey through our religious history, and indulge in indigenous Ghanaian food. Join us to celebrate our heritage this Heritage Month, where every moment is a story. Only on Channel 1 TV and 97.3 CTFM.
Of their labors, toils of the brave, which have brought results.
Thank you for staying with us. And just as I mentioned, today we are talking about property taxation, or what's been referred to as property rate. A lot of challenges, low compliance, low enforceability, and what have you. Today I have three guests with me to help us really appreciate what the issue is when it comes to property taxation, what the challenges are, and the solutions thereof. On my immediate right is Solomon Kusi Ampofo. He is Program Coordinator, Friends of the Nation. Solomon, thanks for joining us.
You're most welcome.
Next to him is Kawusa Da Abubakari, Head of Program Quality and Partnerships at NORSAC. Madam, good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And then my final guest, Mohammed Mubin, Development Planning Officer at the Ga East Municipality. Good to have you.
Thank you
Mohammed.
very much for having me.
And you can tell that we have a really strong team here to help us with property taxation this time around. And I just want to begin with you, Mohammed, since you are the municipality and property taxation at the core of the activities you do there at the municipality. Many a times you get to hear what property taxation is in the budget, you get to hear it. Governments have been urged, expand the tax net using property taxation as one of the prerequisites. Now, so if you talk about property taxation, quickly run us through what the system is for us as a country, or even in a broader perspective, what is property taxation?
Thank you very much. In Ghana, when we talk of property tax or property rate, we are looking at the payments that people make for having particular properties. And when we talk of particular property, we are looking at land and then buildings. So by provisions of law, MMDAs, that's Metropolitan and Municipal Assemblies, are supposed to make this collection of property tax at the local level. So it's the full responsibility of MMDAs to collect this property tax.
And so this particular land and building that you are talking about, are we looking at commercial properties or residential properties or all of them?
Yeah, we are actually looking at them. It has categories. So property that we have the residential aspect, the commercial, and even the landed properties and the industrial. So all these types of properties are catered for in the property tax. So we have to do categorizations. These categorizations inform the rates that are issued to the taxpayer to determine how much each person will pay. So basically you realize that the commercial and the industrial ones do pay more because they are doing businesses. So as we look at them one after the other, we'll elaborate on
and these are immovable properties, right?
Yes, please.
And so if you say that depending on the kind of facility or structure, you look at the rate, what other factors do you consider? Are we looking at the location, the kind of infrastructure it is, the age of the building, for example? How do you do the evaluation or the assessment?
Okay. So basically the responsibility of collection is with the MMDAs, but other institutions play a role. So the Land Valuation Division of Land Commission, when we set out to assess properties, they will first of all give us that rate after we do the assessment. So what goes into it? In a building, we'll be looking at how many rooms it has, the types of materials. The location factor in, we have what we call hierarchy of settlements. And these hierarchy of settlements are based on the services available in those areas. For example, if you take, let me use my district for example, if you take Hacho, or where we call Papao, normally people refer to as Westlands, you realize that it's a higher settlement. You see they have the water services there, they have the roads that are nice and all of that. So that would be a first class area.
So essentially those people will be paying more.
Exactly. Then if you move towards places like Ashoma Village and Abokobi, you realize that the services there, so it will be a low rank hierarchy of settlements at that level. So when you look at the location, those are the factors that go into it. Then the structure itself, the materials we use to build the structure, and then the time. So in determining the rate, actually, they have the market approach. So where you look at in an area, what is the value in terms of when people are selling properties that will be used. Then we'll look at the materials that people bring together to put up a particular structure. The Land Valuation Division also look at this to determine the value of a property. So you multiply the value by the rate. So for example, if we say a property is worth 100,000, then we have the rate imposed, maybe 0.5%. Then you multiply, then you now get what that property owner would pay.
So is it correct to say that property taxation or property rate is a form of progressive tax? Because the more valuable your property is, the more you pay.
Yes, I will agree with that.
Okay. Yeah. And so this rate that you talk about, it is not fixed?
No.
Okay. So in a typical, assessment or evaluation, are you able to tell me, so for example, put a figure to any property, let's say 100,000 Ghana cedis, 200,000 Ghana cedis. Can you give us a rate, or how will you calculate the property rate? I just want us to get practical here.
Okay, so to get practical, let me just use maybe what we have at Ghanaians Municipal Assembly as an example so that we see. So for example, if you take the Ghanaians Municipal Assembly, it spans from, let's say, Malseva Achimota area to Taifa to Kwabinya, then you come to Hacho, Domi, Westland, Ashoma, then Abokobi areas. So if you look at residential, the first class residential areas, the rate imposed is 0.002 to 0.0015. So then if you then go and then value that particular property and you multiply by it, you would have a figure based on what land valuation has given us. So the figure for residential first class in the Ghanaians municipality, the figure is 200 cedis.
I see. And this rate is payable annually?
Yes, it's payable annually. So let me give another example of the commercial. So if you take first class commercial area, the rate imposed is 0.0025. So the amount that is payable is 360 cedi annually.
I see. Thank you very much for laying that foundation for me. But let me move to our lady from NOSAC. By the way, what does NOSAC stand for?
Yes, thank you. NOSAC is, it stands for Empowering Women, Youth and Children. We believe in connecting the realities of people to the policy space.
Oh, I see.
So that policy can be more responsive to the day-to-day well-being of
I
people.
see. So on that policy note, how important is, property taxation to the revenue generation of the country? How is it important in the scheme of things?
Yeah, you know that development is shaped by so many resources that are needed to deliver on it. And one of that is financial resources. And every location, that's why government transfers, there's the locally generated revenue that is used to deliver on developmental mandates for the people. So it's property rates are very critical. Because whatever being all settlements, there are one form of properties or the other. The good thing is, as a country, that system is progressive. It's not a flat system where whoever you are paying the same figure. You are paying based on the value and the locations of your properties. So it's really critical for assemblies to be able to mass those resources from their own people, but much more critically for the people to appreciate that the resources they are contributing, how it's impacting on their well-being.
But many times people say that, well, we pay our taxes, we pay our property rate, but we do not see what assemblies are using them for. How do you convince anyone who is in this dilemma to continue paying his or her property tax?
One, you need to acknowledge that that's a reality. For some people, they are very far away from understanding because assemblies are not able to break it down very well for them to appreciate. So what those resources are used for are not easily visible. In some areas, they may go into administrative costs, but even where it goes into tangible products like buildings, they are not marked or easily marked for people to tell that, oh, the 1 cedi they took from me for this rate has gone into this. And 3, behaviors of collectors also count, right? Those who collect the revenue, how they behave towards the collectors, impact on perceptions, which most times are negative, which contribute to the increasing apathy that people have. And secondly, this whole valuation process. I mean, it could sound a bit technical, but if assemblies could have a way that the people easily can understand, how did you come about the 100 cedis you say I should pay on my property? It's helpful for them to also even become advocates. And even how we let particularly the associations that have mass number of membership, if they understand and integrate in their system, it may be helpful. So for the behavior area, it's an area that critically needs to be looked at to change mindset of people to respond better. But whatever people also need to appreciate, development is a contribution of all actors. You cannot be on the sideline and expect to get the developmental outcome you require. Put in your input and then demand accountability.
I like the part of, public perception and social impact you bring to the conversation. But let me go to Solomon, then I'll come back to you on how to address some of these issues. But the issue of low compliance with property taxation, it seems never to go away. We hear lots of people not trying to, pay their property. What really is the challenge over there? Is it something that the assemblies are not doing right, that needs some fixing? Or the whole property tax architecture is something that we should have a real look at?
Okay, thank you very much. So if you look at the low compliance, there are several factors that contribute to that. The first one is the low awareness and understanding of citizenry on property rates and how to collect those revenues and what they are being used for. The other issue is also about the lack of data in terms of knowing how much or how many properties are within the jurisdiction of the municipal assembly, what are the valuation values, and also how would they deploy an effective system in collecting these taxes. The other bit is also about the accountability aspect. If the assembly is able to collect these rates, how did they use these revenues to be able to facilitate development and provide services to the people to improve their living conditions? So these are a number of things that affect the low compliance. And one of the key things we have been doing as Friends of the Nation with the support of OXFAM is to support these district assemblies to be able to deploy an effective data collection system to enumerate all rateable properties and businesses within the jurisdictions that are geo-referenced, that also have data on the property owners, and that also provide a sense of how the assembly can do the evaluation and also know that within this fiscal year, this is how much we will be able to collect. And that one is also anchored on an accountability platform where, after raising the awareness about property rate and property taxation, then you are also able to engage the citizenry to know how much you've collected and what you've used these revenues for, by deploying accountability boards across several areas within the jurisdiction of the assembly for people to know, so that in specific areas you can know that for this year the assembly collected this much of revenues, and this is what they have been able to use those revenues for, to be able to deliver the service that they are mandated to do.
Very well, Solomon. We are still watching and listening to the OXFAM Tax Dialogue here on 97.3 CTFM and Channel 1 TV. I am Ni Latte. We are taking a short break. When we come back, we will delve deeper into some works that OXFAM has been doing as far as property taxation is concerned. Solomon has mentioned a bit of it. We'll be delving deeper into it, and also look at the changes that have happened with regards to property taxation, the centralization from assemblies to GRA, private, uniform, all of those issues. And finally, how we can strengthen the property taxation collection here in the country.
Get ready as we take you back to your roots to experience the food, music, dance, games, and many more at the Back to Your Village Food Festival. The dates are 29th and 30th of March 2025. Time is 10 a.m. right through till 6 p.m. each day. The venue, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, AMA. Follow all Channel 1 TV and 97.3 CDFM social media handles for updates with the hashtag Back to Your Village. Entry is free, so see you there.
The best blood tonic you can get.
The Back to Your Village Food Festival 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from 97.3 City FM and is proudly sponsored by Gino, Koa Natural Cocoa Fruit Juice, Pan-African Savings and Loans, Tibu Water, Trillium Industrial Company Limited, and Contract Cleaners Association of Ghana.
You're welcome back, and thank you for staying. It's still the OXFAM Tax Dialogue here on 97.3 CTFM and Channel 1 TV. It is our last episode, and it's all about property taxation. I am Nila Tilati. My guest, Solomon Kusiampofo, Program Coordinator, Friends of the Nation, Kausada Abubakari, Head of Program Quality and Partnerships at NOSAC, as well as Mohammed Mubin, Development Planning Officer at the Ghana East Municipality here in the Greater Accra region. Mohammed, I want you to explain this bit to us. Some 2 years ago, this is what we saw in terms of budget commitment and failures. The government says that it wanted to centralize, the collection of property rate as part of the raft of measures to ensure efficiency in the system. So we saw GRA taking over from the municipalities, a private developer also in there. What really did the government seek to achieve with that policy, and did it achieve anything at the end of the day if you match it against the collection from the municipalities?
Okay, first of all, the reason why GRA came in to take the collection of property tax from MMDAs was that it was confirmed that MMDAs were seriously challenged in generating enough revenue
Was
from
that the
property
case?
tax. And yes, that was the case.
I see.
Actually, that was the case. If you look at the collections and the estimated properties in every area, you realize that. But the approach they got wrong. First of all, it violates the decentralization policy of government, which is the Local Governance Act 936, who says MMDAs have to do this collection. They did not change that, and then they introduced this. Again, GRA, when they took over and centralized the collection, the performance was very poor as compared to when it reverted back or when the assemblies were doing the collection. GRA wanted to increase revenue collection by taking over, having a digitized system, which actually is good. But the problem of the low collection, among many other things, was the willingness of people to pay, as my colleague mentioned. It is when people are willing to pay, then you can introduce a digitized platform, then you just send the money. But there was not that willingness, but yet GRA assumed with that digitized system, the collection will be much more easier. So let's see what happened. After 2023, if we take my assembly, for example, Ghana East, we were collecting about 2-point-something million Ghana cedis as per in 2022 as property tax. When GRA came, GRA collected barely 1 million Ghana cedis. As of last year, the Ghanaian Municipal Assembly, when we reviewed the figures in October, we had collected over 3 million Ghana cedis already. In all of it, the collection is low, but when GRA came in, it did not solve that problem. So GRA was not able to solve that problem. So,
someone will ask, did we go or did we come?
So that is how come it reverted back to the... So, and to make it...
So the explanation is that you are better off allowing the assemblies to collect the property with the centralization.
Yes.
I see.
And what they can actually support in empowering, because there's a physical decentralization unit at Ministry of Finance, which is to help with all revenue collection at the MMDA level and then the national level. That's why it's called Fiscal Decentralization Unit. So they can actually help empower assemblies to do more collection of what? Property tax. And there is a system to ensure that we do it effectively. It's just that it's not being implemented. If we look at the LI 1967, which created zonal councils or substructures in 2010, the responsibility of the unit committees is that they go and enumerate rateable persons and properties. And unit committee members are usually within that local area. So, Mr. Amponsa has just come and built a house. They can just easily get details of this new developer. If it is a business, same. Then they will provide this to their substructure. It goes to the assembly. So assembly have this documentation. Then coupled with our local plan, where spatial planning, where we have the street naming, property addressing system, we could actually, if we implement these provisions properly, they will solve half of the problem of collection property rates.
From what you say, I get the sense that you feel property tax is the easiest tax that we can collect in the country.
Yes, absolutely. Because it is visible, you see the property, it is there. If you compare to all the other categories of taxes that we collect.
So why then is there a struggle? That I'll leave for Nosak to explain to us. But even as I move to her, how important is property taxation to the medium-term revenue strategy of the Ministry of Finance? Because I heard you talk about Ministry of Finance and what, if you can just give me 60 seconds on that.
So it's very, very important because it constitutes almost, if you say maybe second of the categories of collections that we make. That is, it competes against the business operating permit for the local level. And chunk of the revenue we collect come from it. So if you look at our municipal assembly, it is at the top, competing with the business operating permit. And those monies, if we are able to actually collect them, some assemblies can be independent or even central government support. Because it's, if you look at the property, for example, my assembly per the old rate is worth collecting 37 million Ghana cedis. With the current rate, which GRA assessed and then shot up the rate figure. So it's one of the problems we are managing currently. We are capable of collecting 60 million, but we are not able to collect all of this. If we do,
I hear some assemblies are even collecting more than the district assembly common fund that they receive. And it's quite
assembly like this, all our business are category, apart from, I think, rent, or let's say daily toll, all the other category, we collect more than what the DACF give us.
Interesting revelations. But remember that you are on the wings of OXFAM, and they have been doing some really great work in some parts of the country in terms of property taxation. So the last 5 minutes of the conversation will be dedicated to OXFAM and the really good works they have been doing. So Solomon, Madam Abubakari, I don't know who wants to begin this one. Shama and where?
I could start.
Okay.
Because of, the whole centralization conversation. You see, especially for property REIT, the two major issues is data and the people-to-people relationship. It's not just about a system seated somewhere with a connection to the people. You are dealing with people who know you, know lifestyles, and have perceptions. So the people-to-people relationship is very critical for you to deliver well in that area. So NOSAC with OXFAM for the past 6 years, we've been working with the Sanargo Municipal Assembly in Northern Region. And we started this journey with the Assembly, appreciating their reality, particularly in having authentic data on their rateable properties. And you see, Mohammed mentioned a point, if zonal and area councils are functional, the cost of data is minimal. But however, if it's centralized at the assembly level, there's so much money that has to be pumped into to go to every single property to document it, right? So we supported the assembly to now improve their data, and they moved from 5,125 rateable property to 18,235, over 250%, improvement in data. And you need to also appreciate that properties will come up, some would have issues within the year. And so all that supported how they could then have a good data, have a good projection, and then have a tailored approach to how they can collect these. And again, in that area, we had interest to see how existing associations within the location who could support for instance, the hotelier association, how can they be of support as a good mechanism? Because they have membership. They can use their space to be able to get hotels to be responsive to paying some of these things. And also for us is a bit about accountability. People want to be able to tell, and it can be a very difficult conversation, but a necessary one. How much did you collect from us? Where did it go into? And that is always where assembly and people struggle a bit. But at least there's been improvement. We've had series of accountability boards within the zonal councils, just depicting data on what is coming in and what is being used for. Of course, they still need to improve, particularly people being able to see the physical demonstration of the impact of that collection in development. So for instance, if assembly to use it to maybe respond to a need in education in any school, how does the people relate? And that talks about visibility to these efforts. That assembly, they do a lot of work, but they are not able to bring it out very well for the people to relate to. And so that is now where we are with the assembly, to see how best they can, with their communities, define how the communities can relate to these things, considering the different levels of literacy and appreciation of issues.
With Kausada unpacking the great work that you people have done in Sanarigo as well as Shama, I want to believe that has also led to increased revenue for the assemblies. And so, even as we wrap up, Solomon, talk to me about this bit. What are the lessons that you've learned in the activities that you embarked on that other districts can also tap in, even as we shape our tax conversation in the country?
So the key lessons is to get committed leadership who will invest time and resources in terms of data collection and also providing the mechanism for accountability. Because we are successful because we work with 3 different chief executives, and they were all very much committed in the Shama district to contribute to this digital property taxation initiative. And that helped the assembly to generate more revenues. So they increased their revenues for property wage from about 600,000 to 1.8 million within the 6 years that we worked. And that was very much commendable. And that shows how, if you are very committed to this cause, you can be able to derive the best out of property taxation. Then also provided a platform for the citizenry to know exactly what these monies are being used for. So through radio discussions, through the Mountain of Accountability Boards, town hall meetings, people forums, all of these avenues were provided for citizenry to be able to know exactly what are the purpose of collecting property rates, how are these monies being used for, and even what are the channels of paying these rates. And interestingly, now some of the citizens walk straight to the assembly to pay these taxes, where before they were not doing it. And there's also the deployment of some digital system for people to also pay their rates through electronic means. And that's also helping the assembly and also reducing the time that they would go to people to collect these revenues. So these are critical points, and I believe that the government should tap into these opportunities and really upscale it and encourage the district assemblies to do more. For me, there should be a dedicated source of funding for the assemblies to invest in data collection. Because if the assemblies are able to collect data on all rateable properties, then that gives them the platform and also the mechanism to collect more. And as has been discussed, there is so much we can generate from property taxation, which is even higher than the district assembly common fund or any other donor funding or external fund that might come to the assembly. So property taxation or property rates is the way to go, and government must invest in these mechanisms.
And for all of you, if you get the right data, we can collect more.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. You heard from Solomon Kusi Ampofo, Program Coordinator, Friends of the Nation. Kausa Abubakari, Head of Program Quality and Partnerships at NOSAC, as well as Mohammed Mubin, Development Planning Officer at the Gan East Municipality. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And also thank you so much for staying with us for the past 3 months on the OXFAM Tax Dialogue. This is what time will allow us for. Catch you same time next year, or even latter part of this year, if you are able to come your way again. And we are so grateful to OXFAM for making this particular episode a great one. I am Ni Lati, and I thank you so much indeed for staying with me throughout the season. Bye-bye.